Welcome everyone once again. This is your pre-trip webinar for our trip to Peru, the land of the Incas, happening in exactly a month's time. Well, May the 9th, you're going to be landing in Lima and off on your adventure. On today's webinar, what we're going to cover is I'm going to first introduce your wonderful host, Michelle. And she's going to say a little bit about herself, and then she and I are going to take you through what you need to know to prepare for the trip, and that's where we'll spend most of the time because it's all about the preparation, so you get the most out of this trip to Peru. We'll talk a little bit about the flight down to Lima, and I'll touch on some points of the itinerary. I'm not going to be giving you the whole spiel on what you're seeing and doing. You've obviously already done that. You know where you're going, but I will go through a few of the highlights, so a few of the things to be aware of or to think about as the trip sort of evolves. And then at the end, questions and answers. But again, you can post the questions and answers at any time. I may not answer them until the end. So just put the questions in any time, and then we'll just sort of see how we go. So first of all, Michelle.
Yes, well, hello
Hello.
everybody. I'm so happy to,
Michelle,
yeah.
a native of Venezuela originally.
Yeah.
So you're in good hands. You've got a Spanish speaker and you're at your disposal. So that's handy when traveling in Spanish-speaking
Oh
countries.
yeah.
And a resident of Austria, but currently in Chile.
Currently in Chile. And actually, fun fact, my grandmother is from Peru.
Ah,
So
there you go.
I'm very excited to be there with you and yeah, follow along the trip and show you the incredible culture that we're going to be sharing together.
Yeah, exactly. And Michelle, you just finished hosting our trip crossing the Andes, right? From
Yeah.
Argentina to Chile. And I guess everybody had a good time.
Oh yeah, it was a wonderful trip. The weather was just sunny every day. We were lucky with the weather. This is the fall season or autumn. So weather is actually quite nice. It's not too hot, not too cold. Mornings and nights are pretty fresh. So that's going to be, I think, the same in Peru as we're gonna be entering the winter season. But so far it was an excellent trip. Yeah. It was
Yeah,
very,
exactly.
very nice. Very
And we'll
interesting.
elaborate more on this because when we, you hear winter and you think, oh my God, winter should be over. And yet it's not winter like in Canada, believe me.
Oh, no, no, not at
Uh,
all.
just a quick note for any of you who have not, and I see a number of familiar names of some of our members on this trip have been on trips with us before. But if you haven't, just to qualify what Michelle's role is. So Michelle is the host of our trip. She's one of our team of amazing hosts that accompany our groups all of our different destinations. And so, what differentiates our hosts at Wheel and Anchor a little bit from other tour companies, call them tour managers or tour escorts. And oftentimes with other tour companies, you have the same person doing the same trip over and over and over again to the point that they're bored to tears. Our hosts are always on different trips. Sometimes they're doing trips for the first time. Sometimes they've done trip multiple times. But the job of the host is most importantly is to make sure that all of the arrangements that we have made, that my team here at Wheel and Anchor have made, run according to plan. So the detailed planning is done, and so then it's all about making sure that it happens the way that it's supposed to happen. And that's
Yeah,
where Michelle comes in. So Michelle's there to make sure that every transfer that's scheduled and every guide that's supposed to be there and every hotel is that it's all according to what we have already planned in advance, that it all goes off without a hitch.
yeah,
But invariably with travel, there's always a hiccup. I mean, like it's travel, right? That's what happens. Airlines lose luggage, hotels have, rooms that or whatever, and the wheel falls off the bus. I mean, anything can happen, particularly in this part of the world. And so Michelle's there to sort of smooth over all those problems and do her very best to make sure that your trip is comfortable. That's job number one. Job number two is to make sure that you have a good time. At Wheel and Anchor, our trips are all about getting to know your fellow travelers and getting to know the culture and the environment and getting out there and maximizing it to the extent that you want to maximize it. So we're all different travelers. Some people are like, yeah, I want to do a bunch of stuff, but then I just want to chill and have a pisco sour at the end of the day. And other people are like, no, I want to go every minute of the day. So whatever it is for you, Michelle's there to sort of help you head in the right direction. Now she's not like your concierge. She can't book every extra ticket and excursion and everything else, but she's going to do her best to make sure that you have the trip that you want to have throughout Peru. Um, and she's also there again in case there's a problem or an emergency, or there's something that comes up. And we encourage you, if you at any time, if you feel unwell or if you have a little minor accident of any kind, again, your first point of contact is Michelle, and she'll sort everything out,
I
right?
know exactly. I'll be there behind doing the behind the scenes to make sure everything works out
Exactly.
perfectly, smoothly. Yeah.
Exactly. But just to qualify one thing that Michelle isn't, and this sometimes gets confusing for people, Michelle is not a local guide. So Michelle is not going to tell you about the history of Machu Picchu, or she's not going to tell you about the temples in Ollantaytambo, or she's not going to give you any of the local details. We have those local guides for you. We have the experts who are going to take you around Machu Picchu, Cusco, who are going to, the wildlife interpreters in the Amazon for those participating in our post trip to the Amazon basin. All those people are there, and yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Now that we've covered that, Michelle, let's get into the what does everybody need to know for this trip? So first of all, I'll start off tell you a little bit about passport and documents. You know the old saying, money, tickets, passports. Well, money, as long as you have your credit cards, you're good to go. Tickets are all digital tickets these days anyway. But the passport is the one thing that is hard to replace. So make sure that your passport is available, that you know where it is, and that yeah, and that it's not expiring in the next 6 months or 6 months from the end of the trip. We've already mentioned this to you already, and we probably would have let you know if we thought there was a risk of that happening, but it's never hurt to double check. You don't need a visa for Peru, so that makes things easy. The only requirement that the government of Peru, the immigration services set out, is that it's valid for 6 months after your return date. So if at the end of the trip is the 24th of May, we're talking about it's got to be good through November, and then of this year, and then you're good to go. And there should be 2 blank pages in it. That's their request as well. So hopefully you've thought about this already. It's obviously been in the documents we've already sent to you. I would recommend that you take a picture of your passport with your phone so that you have all the information handy. God forbid something should happen to it, you should lose it, or it should get stolen. Extremely unlikely. In fact, in the history of Wheel and Anchor, I don't think I've ever heard of that happening before. But let's be extra careful and cautious. Take a picture of your passport and take a separate copy of any other documents that might be important. Have your e-ticket on your phone. If you feel a little bit uncomfortable about that, print out a copy of your e-tickets for your flights. Your prescriptions for medication, again, that's something that you should really take an original with you, just in case. Sometimes pharmacies, I mean, you should have enough prescription medication for the trip and then some, just to be on the safe side. But if you need something filled locally, if you have a actual original, there's no guarantee that they'll fill it in a country where English is not the native language, but you never know. Any other documents that you might have. The other tip I would say about documents is take your password to your Google account or Gmail account, for example, because sometimes we do use a photo sharing platform through Google because we love to have our members contribute all their favorite photos, and that way everybody has all access to everybody else's best photos. But we've often had trips where people have shown up and they're like, "Oh yeah, Google Photos, sure, but I need my password to get in, and I left it at home." So that's just a tip. Take that with you as well. Good. Michelle,
Oh
time
yeah.
for you to tell everybody what they should bring. And you talked about the weather a little bit. And
Yes.
again, it'll differ your packing depending on if you're doing the pre-trip to Paracas and down the Atlantic coast, and if you're doing the post-trip into Puerto Maldonado and the Amazon basin. So will you talk a little bit about that, and I'll fill in the blanks with anything else that
Yes, of
needs to be.
course. Well, I think rule number one, we're gonna follow the onion advice.
Yes.
We try to always pack in layers. It's the easiest way to pack because you can always adapt, throughout the weather. So if it is a little bit fresh, you put layers and layers, as it's going to get when we get higher up. Yeah, Cusco and Machu Picchu, which is going to be way fresher than it's going to be in Lima. And then for the group who is going to end up in the Amazon, it's going to be tropical weather, humid and warm. So it's also nice to have some extra light clothing that you can be using there. Well, in general, I will suggest to pack smart. So like try to pack things that can combine with each other, different
Yeah.
colors, so you can kind of wear the same pants with different shirts, and it kind of look different depending on how you wear them.
Mm.
Um, and always keep some space for souvenirs.
Yeah.
That's always an advice. Because some people overpack and then it's like, oh my God, I don't have space anymore. So it's always nice to give a little bit of space to bring things back home when you return. Other than that, comfortable shoes. I wouldn't suggest to pack boots, like
No.
good, like hiking shoes are, or like sporty shoes are gonna be, yeah, are gonna be good enough.
With a
Um,
good tread on them, right?
well,
Like,
exactly,
yeah,
with a
but
good tread.
but you don't need hiking boots to go to Machu Picchu. We're
No,
not hiking any mountains yet.
not
Exactly.
necessary. No, it's definitely not necessary. Other than that, if there is any cosmetics or like shampoos or conditioners that you would like to bring with, I would recommend to do it because the hotels might not provide, everything. They might have shampoo and soap, but every other items that you might need is good to bring them with you, or any products maybe that you love from home, toothpaste, toothbrushes, and things like that. Um, what else can I suggest? Bug spray, definitely. Um, I would suggest to bring extra socks and underwears more than, the casual clothes, just, to have that as a background.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, and what else? What else, Gordon? Am I missing anything?
What else? Yeah. So
Yeah.
sun protection.
Sun
So
protection.
don't
Has.
forget about sun protection. Which again, it might seem like it's obvious, but at the same time, the sun, particularly at the higher altitudes, will
Yes.
get you. And it may surprise you, even if it's cooler outside. So that's important.
Yeah.
A day pack is also super handy, right? Because when you go out to Machu Picchu for the day, you're not coming back to the hotel for several hours because it's a long way. You take a bus from and I'll tell you about that in a minute, how all that goes down. But um, a day pack, a light day pack that you can like
Oh,
crumple up
yeah.
really small. One day we'll have wheel and anchor ones. I don't have them yet. I'm still trying to source the right one. Um, but it's going to be super handy for you to have. Michelle mentioned bug spray.
Oh,
Bugs
yeah.
aren't really an issue except for the Amazon. I mean, they can be around anywhere. You could even get them in Aguas Calientes at the bottom of
Mm,
Machu Picchu. But they shouldn't be a big problem. Um, we'll talk for a second about vaccinations because people always ask me about, oh, should I get a vaccination to go to Peru?
mm.
Well, first of all, we will not provide advice on what you should do as it relates to vaccinations. That's a personal health issue. And so if you Google it, and I did Google this because these things change all the time about what you need or what is suggested, you're going to get various recommendations and ideas. If your regular vaccinations are up to date, you're probably good. Um, the the big question is, as far as vaccinations are concerned, it's not. I would say it's not a big deal for anywhere except for the Amazon portion. And then the question is um, about malaria. Um, and so again, this is where it is very important that you consult with a travel medical clinic or with your physician about that. Um, I will tell you my personal experience, which is that I visited there many times and I've never taken malaria pills
Mm.
because the side effects from malaria pills are they vary from person to person, but they're not great. I will also say that the last time that we were in this particular spot, we're going to the same spot we've been to before, Inca Terra at Puerto Maldonado. And a number of people had been taking malaria prophylaxis, and they weren't feeling well because they don't because it has some side effects sometimes. And the general manager of the hotel kind of chuckled and went, "We haven't had malaria around here for years." I am not saying that I'm not saying that that means you should or shouldn't. It's really up to you. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to tell you from personal experience. But I will say, do get advice and consultation about that. Okay. Um, while we were on that subject, the only other things to keep in mind is to bring an adapter plug. But I actually think the plugs in Peru are the same as at home, as in North America. Is that
Um,
right? You know?
I think they're like the European ones. So they
They're the
have,
European ones. Excuse me.
yeah, the European
Yes.
ones. Yeah.
Peru is European plug, so that means round pins. So you probably already have one from trips to Europe. So Central European pins with the two round pins. So if you don't have an adapter, go and grab one. You can get them at the dollar store these days. You don't have to get anything fancy. Most devices, like your phone and anything electronic, will be dual voltage, and even most things are dual voltage. But if you do need to take something, particularly with a heating appliance in it, sometimes a hair straightener or curling iron have only single voltage. So if you're not sure, check on the label or ask a friend or whatever to double check. The only other thing is hearing aid chargers. Also, we have heard reports that some of them don't operate on dual voltage, so you might want to double check that. But other than that, I think we've covered everything we need to cover in terms of what to pack.
Pack, I think
Um,
we're good. Maybe
okay,
an
good.
umbrella if anybody wants to pack a small umbrella, but usually the hotel should provide an umbrella if we need it. But yeah,
Exactly. And where are you going to experience it rain? Well, anywhere. I mean, the Amazon is the most likely place where it could rain. It might not. I mean, there's a good chance that it will. It is the rainforest after all. Um, but most of the rest of the trip should be pretty dry. But you just you never know.
you never know.
So a little shell, a little waterproof shell, and a portable umbrella is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Money. Do you want to talk about the money?
Sure. Yeah. Well, when it
Great.
comes to money, um, I will, yeah, by experience, I will say that most of the places will accept credit and debit cards. So you can go along with your cards, but I will always recommend to bring more than one card because for some reason some machines will accept one and other ones will accept another one. So it's always good to have a few plans, B, C.
Yeah.
When it comes to local currency, the Peruvian currency is sol, like the sun. And if you need to exchange any money, we can get in touch with the local guide and they can advise us where to go to maybe get some small bills to pay tips to buy in local shops. But I will say that you should be okay, going along with your credit and
Yeah.
debit card.
Yeah. For the most part, I think the credit card will be fine. All the hotels will take them. A lot of the bigger restaurants will take them.
Yeah.
The place where you mostly need cash is if you're shopping at these little markets in the Sacred Valley. But I got to be honest with you, even the markets in the Sacred Valley nowadays um, take credit cards, right? They're so ubiquitous now. But you probably want to have some cash. I would not, please don't try to get Peruvian soles in Canada. Like that's a lost cause. The banks will look at you like you come from a different planet, and not to mention they'll if they do get them, it'll take forever, and they'll charge you a terrible exchange rate, and the airport exchange counters is all the same. So don't bother at home. Some people
Yeah.
ask, do you need to bring US dollars? Honestly, I don't, US dollars in Peru are no better than Canadian dollars in Peru if you want to bring cash. Um, so what I suggest, the best way is bring your credit card, bring your debit card, as Michelle said, bring a couple of cards, and go to the ATM. That's what I always do. Honestly, I show up in these countries and I don't usually have a dime in my pocket. I just go and I take $100 or $200 out in sols in local currency, and you're good to go. And you can get it right at the airport, and it's the best way to go. Um, the Wise card is something that we do recommend,
Mhm.
only because it's like a traveler's credit debit card. A lot of our members use it now. I use it religiously. It's the only card I use outside of Canada, pretty much, because it offers the best exchange rates, way better than anything you can get in Canada, like in terms of being close to the median rate. And you can withdraw up to 300 Canadian dollars with no bank charge. So, if you use your bank card from at home and you use your debit card there, you typically charge you $5 for a foreign withdrawal, but Wisecard doesn't charge you anything. Now, the machine, the ATM machine might charge you something, but that's something that nobody can control, and that varies from country to country and bank to bank. But Wise is a great traveler's card because you can load it up with Canadian dollars, you can leave it in Canadian dollars, use it to pay in whatever currency, or you can switch it into other currencies. It's a very versatile tool. Read up about it. All of the information about that is in your pre-trip information document, and there's a whole section on Wise if that's something that you want to do. Um, yeah, so gratuities, while we're talking about money,
Mhm.
gratuities are covered for all the services that we provide on the trip. So all the drivers, the guides that are part of the meals that are part of your program, we've covered the tips, and Michelle will take care of that. That's all taken care of. So the question is then what is beyond that? Well, for any meals that you eat outside, then obviously you would and should tip. And I, I mean, Michelle, my understanding of the tipping policy in Peru is that it's similar to Europe in that you would round up to around 10%. Is that still fair to
Yeah,
say? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. You still round up to around 10% of the bill. Check the bills, particularly in hotels. If you have a meal inside the hotel, sometimes a service charge will get added to the bill, in which case that's basically the tip, and you don't need to leave anything on top of that. More and more they try to trick you these days, so they add the tip and then leave another box for tip. Um, uh, I, as a general rule in this part of the world, like to leave tips in cash. So even if you pay for your bill, you have a dinner somewhere and you pay on your credit card, I personally like to leave the tip in cash because then you know for sure it goes into the pocket of the server.
exactly.
That's just right. Same thing,
Yeah,
Michelle. You do the same thing, right?
yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Michelle, explain a little bit about what they should do in terms of mobile phone and so on.
Oh, mobile phones. Well, nowadays, I think the easiest way of installing or communicating in a different country is to have an eSIM. So the eSIM is like an online chip that you put in your phone, and there are different apps that you can find that. Um,
And this is
but
a physical SIM that you can see in the picture. So it
exactly,
depends how old your phone is. If you have a pretty new phone, right, it'll take an
yes,
eSIM.
exactly, yeah, yeah. If not, we can always find a local like SIM card with the guide, and we can also provide that, help you find it. But the easiest way will be to have the eSIM, so you can activate it when you're home, and when you arrive at the airport, you already have your phone working. So that's like, yeah, I would be, yeah, recommended this one. But either way, it would be good to have a phone that will accept either eSIMs or like
Physical SIM.
physical,
And to
yeah,
be
SIM
clear,
card.
you can use your mobile phone from like your phone plan from home and just leave it. But
Yeah.
in Canada, the rates are crazy. I mean, they charge you about
Yes.
16 dollars or $17 a day for roaming internationally. And for that amount of money, you can get all the data you need to last you for the whole trip in Peru. So, but that's your prerogative, of course. We do strongly suggest getting a local physical SIM or an eSIM, as Michelle suggests. Um, and so the
Yeah.
only thing I'll say about that is that, and this has come up as well, if you get an eSIM card, then when you activate that eSIM card and you're using it, your phone number from Canada will not work. And in
Mm,
Canada, unlike most of the rest of the world, a lot of people still use text messaging, SMS messaging, which is phone to phone.
mm,
That will not work when you take out your Canadian SIM card. So that just to keep in mind, which is
yep.
why we again use Telegram, which is Michelle will tell you about it again in a second. And of course, any other app, WhatsApp, Messenger, iMessage, there's a million of them out there. Signal, if you want to talk to members of the U.S. government. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Um, there are a number of different apps you can use that are data based, but SMSs won't work when you take your SIM card out. Explain about Telegram and how important it is,
All
Michelle.
right. So getting into Telegram. So Telegram would be our go-to application to communicate with each other. So in this app, we're going to be sharing the daily documents, like the daily itinerary we're going to be following through. I'm going to be sending updates if there is any like pickup time that we're going to be changing, or maybe the whole schedule is going to be changed. So this is going to be the way of communicating. So you have to go through this app, preferably do it before the trip
Definitely do
starts.
it
So,
before.
you can send me a text, say a quick hello, so I can add you into my contacts, and you can add me into your contacts. So if anything happens, during your flights, you can always reach out and text me. So yeah, pretty much this app is gonna be our way to talk to each other. So here you will get all the members' contacts, so you can talk to them privately or within the group that we're gonna be creating. And yeah, this is gonna
Yeah.
be, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And the instructions for Telegram are a separate document that you received with your pre-trip
Mhm.
information. Please read through it. And please by all means consult, if you struggle a bit with technology, consult with a friend or something to help get it going. But it is important that you set it up before you leave Canada. That way, particularly if you have a problem flying down and
Mhm.
you get stuck at a stopover airport because there's a delayed flight or a missed connection, you can get a hold of Michelle. We'll tell you
Yes.
about that in just a second. So Telegram's really important that you get it all set up. Um, Health protocol. So there's just a couple things that we want to talk about on this point. Number
Mhm.
one, um, if you should feel ill at any time during the trip, and when I say ill, if you should become symptomatic, like you get a cough or a sneeze or something like that, please,
Running
please,
nose, yeah.
please, yeah, bring a mask. Let Michelle know and wear a mask. Listen, we all hate masks, but they they serve a good function, and the world is still full of all kinds of crazy things going on, and we just don't. We, out of respect for our fellow members, we would just rather take advantage of that and try to not infect anybody else.
Yeah.
So that's kind of rule number one.
It
Uh,
can go, yeah, it can go by very quickly. So yeah, because we're in the bus, we're always together.
yeah.
So it's very important to keep it contained as much as we
Yes,
can.
it's very
You know,
important. It's very important.
it's
The
very, very
second thing
important.
is if you hurt yourself in any way, or if you feel ill, beyond the obvious symptoms and so on and so forth, or if you should take a trip, or um, please let Michelle know about anything. We want to return you home in the same shape that you arrived in. That's really important to us, and so we will, through our guides and hotels, and have access to clinics and ways for you to get checked out if you should have a spill or something, because we treat it seriously. You get into some of these environments, particularly in the Amazon, and you have to treat even minor cuts and scrapes. You have to treat these things really properly, to avoid any risks of infections and all the rest of this kind of thing. So that's important that you do that. And the last thing is that our trips are non-smoking, which means if you're around the group, just don't smoke. I don't want to say anything more about that. I think that goes without saying. And we don't have a lot of smokers in our group anyway. So, and we talked about vaccinations, so we can move on from that. Um, Perfect. So let's fast forward now to May the 4th, 5th, when you're flying down. Please keep an eye on your phone or on your laptop, your computer or whatever, for emails from your airline that might advise of any delays in your flight. These days, they often know before the flight even leaves if it's going to be late because of whatever factors that affect flights. And so if you are going to miss your flight that is bringing you to Lima, so let's say you're flying from Montreal to Panama City and connecting down to Lima from there, and your first flight is late and you miss the connection. That's really important to get a hold of Michelle by telegram to let her know you're not on the flight that you're supposed to be on, so that we don't have a transfer driver like madly looking around the airport. Where is they? We just want to make sure we know where you are as much as possible. If your flight is late, but you're on the flight, we'll know that your flight is late because we'll obviously be checking the flight time. So, but if you're not on the flight you're supposed to be on, you need to let us know. The good thing about traveling in South America is that we're almost in the same time zone. So depending on where you're coming from, obviously it's just vertically south. So there's no jet lag, which is yay, that's good news. When you arrive into Lima Airport, it is a pretty big airport. I suggest that you have your transfer voucher, which if you haven't gotten it already, you will get it imminently. It's part of your pre-trip information kit. That's the piece of paper that says who's going to pick you up. So all the details about your transfer from the hotel to the airport. So have that one handy so that when you arrive, if you don't immediately find your transfer driver, typically they're right there and they've got a sign with your name and wheel and anchor, or one or the other or both. So look around for them. If you don't find them right away, sometimes there can be a lot of people waiting in the arrival area. So just be a little bit patient. And then your next step is if you don't, if you can't find them sort of within 5-10 minutes of looking around, you can, there'll be a phone number of our local transfer company and then Michelle's contact, again, Telegram. So if you have an eSIM, you'll be able to turn it on and use it right there, or you can connect to the Wi-Fi in the airport. But your point of contact is Michelle. So she'll be anxious to know that you've arrived safely and that you're on your way to the airport or on the way to the hotel, and everything is good. Um, so that's that. And then you'll be brought to the hotel. And again, there'll be no jet lag, but it's still a bit of a long flight. So you'll still be a little bit tired. And we don't plan too much on the first day because yeah, you'll have had a long flight. You just want to settle in and relax. And we have a lovely hotel in the main part of Miraflores. So let's go over the map again, just quickly to remind you of where you're going. I'm sure you know already. So for those who are doing our pre-trip, if you're not doing our pre-trip, just bear with me for a few minutes as I cover that briefly. Obviously, everybody's arriving into Lima, but you'll be arriving a few days before. You'll arrive into Lima, and then you're going to uh, be staying. Well, I think you're staying a night in Lima, and then you're driving down the coast. It's a fairly long drive down to Paracas, which is a beautiful spot that is a gateway to the Nazca Lines and the Ballestas Islands, the National Reserve down there. So you'll spend a few nights down there. Um, and the highlight of all this, there's many highlights. I like the cruise to the Ballestas Islands. I've done it a couple of times. You can see all kinds of marine life and seals and walruses and all kinds of birds. It's super cool. Not to mention the they're not really Nazca lines. They look like Nazca lines that are up on one of the islands up there. The Candelabra is what they call it. Very cool. Just one word though about, whoops, what happened to my, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's the pre-trip. Then for the main trip, you will begin by flying down to Arequipa, which is in the south part of Peru. And then you'll fly from there up to Cusco. That's how we get into the Sacred Valley and to Machu Picchu, the highlight of the trip. And then the post-trip is then takes us from Cusco directly to Puerto Maldonado, where we get into the Amazon basin. So that's that. Now let me get into the details about the pre-trip before I jump ahead of myself. So the pre-trip, as I say, is to Paracas. It's this desert landscape. So the beauty of doing that, all three parts of this trip is that you get the desert with these incredible dunes that like melt into the ocean. And then you get the highlands of Peru with the Sacred Valley and Machu Picchu. And then you get the lowlands in the Amazon Valley. You get everything. The main thing I want to mention about the pre-trip into Paracas is about the flight over the Nazca lines, which is optional. Um, it's really cool because these lines are carved into the desert and they're in various shapes and they were made a long time ago and nobody knows how they've managed to withstand the test of time. It's very cool. The flight is, for some people, a challenge. You fly in a small plane, so it's typically anywhere between sort of 8 and 20 passenger plane. Everybody will have a window seat and you'll be able to look out and you'll arrive at the airport in Ica. You'll check in at this airport like in a normal thing, but it's a private flight. There may be other people on the flight depending on which aircraft it is and so on and so forth. You'll fly about a half an hour to get from there to where the Nazca Lines begins. And then you'll fly on this loop-to-loop, whirl around to see as many of the lines as possible. And these pilots are there to make sure that everybody gets a view of the line. So that you can imagine they fly along and they're like, look, on the left, there's there's the eagle, and then now they'll bank the plane to the left so the person on the left can see the plane. Then they'll blank the plane to the right so the person on the right can see the plane. So it is a little bit of a turbulent ride. I mean, it's safe, but it's not for the faint of heart. So I would strongly recommend if you're going on doing this is to take some motion sickness something, whether it's pills or if you use bands or patches or whatever, because it is a bit of a willy-nilly ride. The whole thing lasts about an hour and a half. It's about a half an hour there. It's a half an hour, 40 minutes flying over the lines and about a half an hour back. That's the whole thing. It's really cool, but I just wanted to mention that to you. I think that's all there is to say about that part of the trip. You'll come back to Lima, meet the rest of the group, and then you're gonna sorry, you spend the first couple of days in Lima. Lima is a very cool city. You're staying in Miraflores, which is the nicest part of Lima. It's close to the coast. It's a generally safe area of Lima. You can walk around that area certainly during the day without any problem. At night, I would be a little more cautious at night, and Michelle and your local guide will sort of fill you in on that. But it's not super dangerous. Lima is pretty cool, particularly this area of Miraflores where you're staying. The other thing I want to say about Lima is this is a foodie destination, and you're going to be doing a cooking experience anyway. So you're going to sample some of the amazing Peruvian food. But I think you have a free dinner there, at least one free evening for a dinner. This is a foodie city. So if you're somebody that likes amazing meals, I would suggest Google dining out in Lima. There's everything from Michelin star restaurants that are will blow your mind, and to street food to whatever. Imbibe in it, like enjoy it. But again, if you're somebody that likes the fine dining, you really need to arrange something in advance because a lot of those places are booked months in advance. So there's still potentially time, but anyway, so just that's my hint for Lima. Is there anything else we need to say about Lima, Michelle?
No, other than that, I think that's the most important part. Food.
Okay, great. Um, so there's Lima again. Great. From Lima, we then head down to Arequipa. So now this is the next question, which I purposely left it till now about preparations. Because obviously, as we know, we get into the highlands of Peru, altitude. What do we do about altitude? Okay. So the only place where altitude is really a significant factor, and again, this depends also on your individual condition, like your individual level of fitness and all the rest of it. The only place that is really a factor is Cusco, because Cusco sits at 3,400 meters above sea level, which is about 11,000 feet. Okay. Arequipa, which is the first stop, and we've done this trip, we've planned this kind of smart, very smart, because we are acclimatizing you to go up. Arequipa is at about 2,300 meters above sea level, which is about 8,000 feet. 10,000 feet or 3,000 meters is the level where oxygen starts to have a noticeable effect on the body. Right below that, you're generally fine. You may notice it somewhat in Arequipa, depending on again your health level and your fitness level and so on and so forth. But generally, it's not a problem. So we're going to be in Arequipa. This is a lovely town. It's the colonial buildings, the scenery. You've got the Andes in the background. It's a beautiful town. But you're at 2,300 meters. You won't really have an altitude issue. So we're going to spend a bit of time in Arequipa. And then from Arequipa, one of the things that we'll enjoy is the Peruvian food. Again, this is where we're going to try some of the traditional food, pachamanca. This is like the food that the Incas ate. They eat all kinds of weird things. Most of it is not a problem. The one thing to pay attention to is guinea pig. Um, Michelle will be the one to try guinea pig for you.
I will. I take one for the team.
It tastes like chicken, but it's a guinea pig. So I'm just warning you in advance about that. But I recommend to try it. So from Arequipa, you're going to fly to Cusco. Now you're going to arrive in Cusco, but you're immediately going to go into the Sacred Valley. So Cusco, as I mentioned, 3,400 meters. You're going to land, you're going to pick up your suitcase, and you're going to be immediately get in the bus and you're going to go down. And the Sacred Valley drops down to like as low as 2,000 meters above sea level. So actually below Arequipa. So you'll have gone up and then you'll have come down. So you may notice the altitude a bit in Cusco when you arrive, but we're taking you right back down into the Sacred Valley. And the Sacred Valley, as I say, is low. It's lower than Arequipa in elevation. Even Machu Picchu is only at 2,400 meters above sea level. So it's like the same as Arequipa. It is not a place where altitude is generally a problem. Okay. And by this time, you'll have been a couple of days in Arequipa anyway, so you'll have gotten used to it. Um, so I'll come back to the altitude thing in a second. So what to know about Machu Picchu? So you're going to spend a couple of days in the Sacred Valley. You're going to see markets and Inca ruins and amazing stuff all in this huge valley. It's awesome. Um, the souvenirs there, by the way, fantastic. You don't find any stuff made in China there. This is one of those places in the world that even I do souvenir shopping, and I don't do souvenir shopping, but Peru is amazing for it. To get to Machu Picchu, you go by train, and the trains are that's the only way to get in other than walking, and we're certainly not going to walk because it takes 3 days. So you get in by a train, and you go through this very narrow valley, and you can see why they couldn't find Machu Picchu forever because it's hidden in these valleys. Um, we'll stay in Machu Picchu for a night, or specifically, we stay in Aguas Calientes, which is the town at the bottom of which means hot water. Basically, it's the town at the bottom of Machu Picchu, and then we go up by bus. Everything happens timed because they've restricted the number of visitors that get to go up to to Machu Picchu. Um, so in the morning or in the afternoon that we head up to Machu Picchu, Michelle? Now I've just yeah. So
Yes, in the
when we
afternoon.
in the right. So in the afternoon when we arrive, we'll head up to Machu Picchu. And so things will kind of go like clockwork that day because we have to go up at a specific time. And then we have an entry in, and then you come out, and one of the first things you'll see is basically this scene here. Is you'll think, where is this Machu Picchu? And then you'll go around a corner, and so Machu Picchu, lots of steps. There are lots of steps to do the circuit around Machu Picchu. One of our members asked, which circuit are we doing? We are doing the standard circuit. So there are a bunch of different ways to do it. You go through the entrance gate after you get off the bus, and we have to walk uphill. And there are a bunch of steps. I don't know how many exactly, but it's at least 100 stone steps, no handrails. So do keep that in mind. It's fine, but it's a bit of a tough day, particularly if you're a little bit, um, not so agile on your feet. So you will walk up a whole bunch of stairs and we'll come to a plateau and you'll have this view. And then we'll gradually make our way in and around through various parts. Um, we can't see every single room in Machu Picchu. You'd need more than a day. Although we have a second day of time to go up. The second day is kind of optional, right? To go up and see it again. But the first day we'll get the view that you see here, and we'll walk around and we'll have the interpretive walk around Machu Picchu. There will be lots of other people there. There's always lots of people at Machu Picchu. As you can imagine, this is one of the most sought after archaeological sites in the world. Depending on timing, there may be possibility to walk up to the Sun Gate, which is looking at this picture, it's in behind. It's quite a long walk up. But between Michelle and your local guide, they'll advise if that's a possibility. And that is it's a fairly long walk that is uphill, up many steps. I think it's about 2 kilometers long, but it offers quite an even more panoramic view over the valley. There is also the possibility to walk up this mountain in the back. That is a much more challenging hike. Probably not for anybody on this trip, only because of the time it takes. You have to spend a good chunk of a day to be able to walk up to this peak here. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But yeah, if you have questions or thoughts or interest, let us know, and we'll let you know if that's a possibility. So that's kind of what I wanted to let you know about Machu Picchu. Oh, one other important thing: if you like to walk with poles, um, then by all means bring them along, but they don't allow them at Machu Picchu unless you have a rubber bottom on them because they're obviously worried about the damage that the poles, the tip of the metal tip of the poles has the on the stonework. So they may even not let you take them in. It it all sort of depends. So it's one day I would leave them behind unless you really need them, in which case you need to ensure that you have the rubber bottoms at the bottom of the pole. So that's an important thing to mention about Machu Picchu. Okay, oh, a lot of information. So sorry for taking the time, but I just want to make sure that that all this stuff is mentioned. Um, so then you go back to the Sacred Valley, and then you'll make your way up to Cusco, which will be the end of the main part of the trip. Again, beautiful city. You're going to see some great things. You're going to see Sacsayhuaman, which is these huge Incan rocks, and you think, how the heck did they move these things here? Um, in Cusco is where you'll notice the altitude because you're at 3,400 meters. People say, do I need oxygen? No. I mean, if you need oxygen or if you have a concern about that, you should certainly ask your physician. Or people say, should I take Diamox, which is this drug you can take that combats against altitude sickness? We're not doing any marathons. We're not going to do anything strenuous. Michelle's going to be keeping an eye on your pace and everything else. And like, we obviously understand that the altitude is a bit of a factor here. You shouldn't really need to take anything because we're not doing anything so strenuous. But if you have a concern about your own physical well-being, again, I would consult with your doctor about what is appropriate in terms of, if you should take something. Um, we can't really advise on that. That's a personal discussion that you should have. I just make you aware of it. So from Cusco, those of you that are completing our main trip will be flying from there back to Lima and then connecting to go back home. For those continuing for our post trip, and again, bear with me for a minute if you're not continuing on our post trip so we can get to the questions. We're off to the Amazon jungle and we'll fly directly from Cusco to Puerto Maldonado. It's not far, it's only about 45 minutes. We will land at the airport. We'll take a quick drive down to the pier on one of the tributaries of the Amazon River, and then we'll be whisked off to our lodge in Catera. This is a beautiful spot. I love this lodge. I've been there twice in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. We'll go in there. All of a sudden, it's going to be tropical. So you're going from Cusco, 3,400 meters, will be cool, and then you're going to be hot. You're going to be sweating right away as soon as you arrive into Puerto Maldonado. We head by boat down the river to Incatera. We'll arrive at this wonderful lodge in the middle of the jungle. And this is a fantastic place. When we're there, our meals are all covered because there's no place to go. We're at the lodge. And all of the excursions, and there's a whole selection of them, and the general manager of the lodge will explain what you can do, what you have time to do, what's recommended to do, and I would do everything. I mean, how many times you get to be in the Amazon rainforest? Piranha fishing is a really cool one, but and for those that are feeling really daring, go on the night hike into the forest with a flashlight. Um, but there are critters out there. But it's very fascinating. I tell you, it's the Amazon is one of the coolest places you'll ever go. Okay, I'm done talking. There's one of the creatures you might see, one of many. I'm done talking. I want to address a couple of the questions that came in, and so I'm going to do that now. So there are how many people are on the trip, Michelle? Actually, you don't.
So it's going to be 6 in the pre-trip, 12 in the main one, and 9 in the
In the
post
poster.
trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it looks like actually the majority of folks are solo travelers. So that's great. You're going to have a lot of fun. Yeah. And blah blah blah. Some of the other questions were addressed directly in an email. You're going to meet each other on the main trip, basically when you arrive at the Casa Miraflores, the Casa Andina, when you arrive in there. And Michelle will communicate. Again, Telegram important. Michelle's going to be letting you know in advance about everything that's going on. So Telegram, get used to it. Da, 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 da. Yeah, and I think I covered everything else. I covered about oxygen Diamox. Again, check with your physician. I would say generally no, but if you are somebody that struggles with that, you should you really need to get some medical advice about it. And the hiking poles. Yeah, I think if you need the hiking poles, check with Melody in our office, and she's going to double check on if you need to get permission in advance because they are very picky that regular hiking poles without rubber bottoms will not be allowed. It's not a problem, but just let us know in advance so that we know. Yeah, I think that we got most of the questions. Oh, Janet asked a question about water in hotels, safe to drink, brush teeth. In the hotels that we're staying in, you can use the water to brush your teeth. I don't generally drink the water in the hotels, not because it's filtered and they will tell you it's probably safe to drink. But the issue is in traveling countries with this is not that it's technically potable water, but that the bacterial, the chemical composition of the water through whatever treatments they use and whatever was in there to begin with, it can cause it can cause an
It's
unusual
different.
reaction. It's just
Mm,
different. It's just
it's
different.
different. Yeah.
And I even say that to people going to Italy, where the water is safe everywhere to drink,
Yeah.
but you might have a reaction to it because it has different things in it. So I suggest drinking bottled water. I suggest bringing a bottle of water, a water bottle with you. If you are lucky enough to get one of the Wheel and Anchor water bottles, bring that. Um, Otherwise, you'll have to come to one of our summer social events so I can give you one. And just so we avoid plastic bottles as much as possible. But each hotel will tell you exactly what their requirements are, and they'll provide bottled water in the rooms anyway. So you're good to go. But you can brush your teeth with the water. It's not like that. In the
Yeah,
hotels, you
that's
can absolutely brush your teeth with the water. Um, and Michelle will let you know anyway, right?
of course. Yeah.
Good. All right. I've been talking for 50 minutes nonstop, so I think it's time to stop. If you have any other questions, you can message our office, message Melody at the email address shown here. You can also Telegram Michelle, and if you haven't already, please set up Telegram, send her a note. Michelle, you're going to follow up with anybody that you have not
Of
heard
course.
from before the trip yet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I will.
Yeah. Good. And bon voyage. That's the last thing I'm going to say. Have a great time. And I look forward to hearing all of your comments about this trip when you come back. I hope to see all of you or most of you at one of our summer social events. If you haven't already signed up, please do. Some of them actually Montreal was even sold out. So, but yeah, do sign up because I'd love to meet you and hear all about your trip to Peru. And that's it.
I'm looking forward to seeing you and meeting you all.
Absolutely. So yeah, so thanks everybody once again, and take care, and we'll yeah,
We'll chat soon.
see you soon. We'll chat soon. Bye for now. Have a good day.